The story begins as Will, a police officer, moves with his wife, Paige, to a quiet coastal town. Paige is pregnant, and they came here hoping for a calmer life. 3 days in, Will reports to the local station. His superior, Murphy, pairs him with Officer Terry for patrol so Will can learn the town. Terry explains the local rules. Crime is rare, most shifts are slow, and Will should find a hobby because there's barely any real police work. They stop at a small shop for food, and the clerk recognizes Will, asking if he's related to a man who tried to defraud a bank. Will admits it was his father. When Terry asks, Will explains his father worked at a bank, discovered a way to commit financial fraud, and attempted it, but the plan failed before it could succeed. His father was arrested and sentenced to 15 years. After the conviction, authorities seized every remaining dollar from the family, leaving them with nothing. Terry jokes about the irony. A thief's son wearing a badge. He means it as teasing. Will doesn't smile and stays quiet. Elsewhere, Paige settles their house, decorating for the baby. She goes to a nearby market for paint and talks colors with the owner. A man walks past and the owner lowers his voice. Paige asks why, and he says the man is known as Irishman, the person locals go to when they need an illegal job done. Paige watches as Irishman stops and pins his contact info onto a public notice board. Back on patrol, Terry pulls up outside a house and admits it's his girlfriend's, except she's married, so everything must stay secret. He tells Will to honk twice if an old Chinese man shows up nearby, then slips inside, leaving Will alone to keep watch. The silence gets to Will and he dozes off. A radio call jolts him awake. Burglary at a specific house. Will tries to get Terry, but the music inside is blasting, and Terry can't hear him. Then the woman's husband arrives, sees Will outside, assumes he's the secret lover, and confronts him. Will backs away to avoid escalation and drives to the burglary call alone, unaware this decision will set everything in motion. It's Will's first day on duty, and he's nervous when he reaches the house. Inside, Virginia is in the kitchen, cooking with headphones on and not hearing him. When she suddenly turns, Will panics. His gun fires. Virginia screams for Marty, then whips around, furious, demanding how Will got into her home. Will claims he received a report that something illegal was happening there. Virginia calls him a liar, insisting she never made any call, and lunges. They struggle, slam into a table, and it splinters. Will scrambles up and freezes. A jagged wooden piece has pierced Virginia's head. She's dead, instantly. Terry arrives moments later. Will leads him to the body. Still stunned, Terry asks why Will was even here. Will says he responded to a Code 115 call. Terry corrects him. Code 115 isn't burglary. It's a sexual misconduct complaint. Will realizes he misunderstood everything and begs Terry not to report it, swearing he never intended this. Terry hesitates. Virginia's husband, Wallace, is one of the wealthiest men in town, and he won't let this go. And if the department investigates, Terry will have to explain where he was. His secret affair will come out. Terry kicks a tall vertical basket nearby. The sound is wrong, too heavy. He tips it open, and both men freeze, staring at stacks of cash bundled tight. Terry says there's a way out. Make it look like a robbery. Claims someone broke in, stole the money, and killed Virginia before escaping. With their fingerprints already everywhere, Terry builds the cover story. They responded, spoke with Virginia, even shared coffee, then left. So the murder happened after they were gone. They trash the place to sell it, and Terry damages the clock at a specific time. Will hates the moves, but Terry pressures him. Paige, the baby, his future, until Will gives in. As they leave, Will remembers a bicycle outside earlier. Now it's gone. Terry tells him to stop thinking and get out before anyone else shows up. They drive off, park, and wait. When the murder call comes in, they return like nothing happened. Wallace is already there with Murphy. Asked who comes and goes, Wallace says almost nobody. Only a massage therapist who sometimes visits his wife. Terry adds that earlier he and Will checked on Virginia about a report and everything seemed normal. Murphy asks if anything valuable is missing. Wallace says no. The house is wrecked, but nothing was stolen. Will and Terry go cold. They know cash was taken, because they took it. So why is Wallace claiming nothing is missing? After shift, Terry takes Will to the shipping container to hide the cash. They count it. $1 million. Will can't understand Wallace. If that much money is gone, why hasn't he reported it? Terry says they keep it buried until the investigation fades, then split it evenly later and walk away. Will hesitates, then agrees. At home, Paige senses something's wrong. Against Terry's warning, Will tells her about the money and the cover-up, but not the worst part. He doesn't admit he caused Virginia's death. He pushes the blame toward Terry, terrified Paige would never forgive him. Paige is shaken. She already distrusts Terry. We then meet Keith, Virginia's massage therapist. On the day she died, Keith was in the house. From hiding, he watched Will and Terry wreck the place and stage the scene. When he saw Virginia's body, he understood instantly. Terrified, he escaped through a window, grabbed his bike, and fled, explaining the bicycle Will saw outside that later vanished. In the present, Will and Terry visit Keith to question him. Keith plays dumb, insisting he knows nothing. Meanwhile, Wallace speaks with his secretary, Deborah, and the plot surfaces. They're having an affair, and they'd been planning to kill Virginia. They hired a hitman known as Colombian, believing he murdered her, unaware she died first, in a chaotic accident. That's why Wallace claimed nothing was stolen. The cash wasn't missing to him. It was payment he'd left for Colombian to collect after the job. Wallace and Deborah briefly think everything worked until Colombian demands a meeting. Colombian's side, he went to the house to kill Virginia, arrived to find her already dead, the place trashed and the money gone. Now he corners Wallace. He risked everything and wants his pay. Wallace insists the money isn't with him, but Colombian warns, no cash, and Wallace dies instead. On Paige's insistence, Will invites Terry to dinner so she can judge him up close. Paige asks why he became a cop. Terry admits he was bullied and wanted power. The badge gave it. Paige makes a pointed remark about corruption. Terry agrees too easily, admitting he tracked down his old bully after joining and took revenge to send a message. Paige is disturbed. Terry isn't just reckless. He's dangerous. After Terry leaves, Paige realizes their dog is missing. Terry calls from outside, sorry, claiming he was drunk and accidentally ran the dog over. Paige is devastated and convinced it was deliberate. Later that night, unable to sleep, she asks Will for the container access code. She's done staying on the sidelines. Paige tells Will exactly why she wants the container code. If something happens to him, she'll need the money for herself and their baby. After a long pause, Will gives it to her. Next day, Murphy calls Will and Terry in. She says Wallace's company is drowning in debt and Virginia had a major life insurance policy Wallace would collect, making him a prime suspect. Police also recovered a motel matchbox at the scene and send Will and Terry to check it. At the motel, they learn Wallace is a regular, and he often comes with his secretary. The affair is real. Murphy then gets a call from the lab tech. Fingerprints from both Will and Terry are inside the house. Murphy says that's expected, but the tech adds their prints weren't in just a few spots. They were everywhere. That detail sticks. Will and Terry report Wallace and Deborah's relationship, but Murphy isn't convinced Wallace killed Virginia. CCTV shows Wallace stayed at his office all day, no clear chance to do it himself. Murphy asks how long Will and Terry were inside the house. Will answers fast, about 45 minutes. He claims Virginia got emotional after learning Paige was pregnant and talked about babies and motherhood. Murphy studies them, then dismisses them. Elsewhere, Paige runs into Terry while shopping. He apologizes again for the dog, half joking, and it only scares her more. Afterward, she goes back to the same shop and asks for the contact tied to hired violence. At home, Paige prepares to call. Then there's a knock. It's Murphy. They sit and talk, and it's clear Murphy is carrying fresh grief. She lost her son. After a while, Murphy leaves. Paige acts. She meets Irishman and offers $50,000 to kill Terry. Irishman agrees. Paige doesn't actually have $50,000, so she drives to the shipping container, takes the entire stash, pulls out $50,000, and leaves it where Irishman instructs. Meanwhile, Wallace tells Deborah about Colombian's threat. pay up or die. But Wallace has no idea where the money went. He convinces himself Keith must have killed Virginia for the cash. Deborah agrees. They should confront Keith and take it back. That same night, Will can't sleep. Something clicks. At Keith's house earlier, Will saw the same bicycle, the one he noticed outside Virginia's home on the day she died. Keith knows everything. Will decides to confront him immediately, but violence hits first. Irishman breaks into Terry's house and attacks. The fight is brutal, Terry barely holding on. Irishman is seconds from killing him, when Terry's girlfriend suddenly appears and strikes Irishman dead. Terry survives, badly injured, and the fallout is about to spread fast. Will reaches Keith's house, then stops. Wallace is already there. Will stays hidden as Wallace confronts Keith, demanding the missing money. He draws a gun. His hand doesn't shake. Keith begs, swearing he didn't take anything. Keith's mother rushes out with her own gun and fires first. Wallace collapses, dead. Deborah, waiting in the car, hears the shot and runs over. Seeing Wallace's body, she snaps and shoots Keith, then his mother, killing both. She jumps back into the car and speeds away. Will watches from a distance and feels relief, until he notices Colombians step into view. He saw it too. Will rushes to Terry. Terry is battered from the earlier attack and unstable. The moment Will arrives, Terry points a gun at him and orders him back. Will says Wallace and Keith are dead, and Deborah is gone. No one's left to talk. Terry doesn't care. Someone tried to kill him, and he's convinced Will hired the hit. Gun still raised, Terry forces Will into the car. They're going to the shipping container. Meanwhile, Murphy gets an alert. A police vehicle is out of range. She starts tracking it and heads out. At the container, Terry orders Will to open up and hand over the cash. Will unlocks the door. Empty. Terry stares, stunned. The million is gone. Will swears he hasn't returned since they hid it. Terry asks one question. Did Will tell anyone else? Will hesitates. That's enough. Terry forces him to call Paige. Paige admits she took the money. She says she didn't trust Terry because she believed Terry killed Virginia. Terry goes quiet. Then the truth clicks. Will fed Paige a lie, blaming Terry for Virginia's death to save himself. Will tries to explain, but Terry's rage explodes. He shoots Will dead. Paige hears the gunshot through the phone and knows what it means. With no way back, she grabs the money and runs. Murphy arrives and finds Will's body. She calls Paige, and Paige gives her version. Terry killed Will. Terry killed Virginia. And now Terry is coming for her. Paige tries to flee, but traffic traps her. Terry catches up and orders her out. Paige pretends to comply, then bolts. Terry chases, shouting he didn't come to kill her. He came to tell her the truth. Will was the one who killed Virginia. Murphy arrives and fires. Terry drops dead. In the end, Paige gives birth to a baby boy. Murphy sits with her and says too many people have died. If Paige knows anything else, say it now. Paige lies, claiming she knows nothing beyond Will, warning her about Terry. Murphy studies her and lets it go. The truth, like the money, is never fully recovered. Murphy doesn't buy Paige's story. She warns her that until the case is officially closed, Paige cannot leave the city, then steps out of the hospital room. The second Murphy is gone, Paige panics and checks her things, especially the bag with the money. That's when she realizes she isn't alone. Colombian is behind her. Calmly, he says she's carrying what belongs to him. Before Paige can scream or move, he kills her, takes the cash, and heads for the elevator to escape. The doors open, and Deborah is standing there. They freeze for a beat, then both draw and fire. The same money that ruined everyone's lives sparks one last gunfight. When the elevator opens again, it's over. Both Deborah and Colombian are dead inside, surrounded by scattered cash. Murphy arrives in time to see the aftermath. One look tells her everything. No more questions, no more lies. In the final scene, time has passed. Murphy is holding Will and Paige's baby. She has adopted him, giving the child a life untouched by the greed and violence that destroyed his parents. The story ends with a final choice. This time, someone chooses responsibility over greed, and the cycle stops.